In this lesson, we'll learn how to work with expressions in Max. Long story short, expressions are mathematical formulas that are used to produce a certain outcome. Now in our case, we're going to use it a number of ways. We'll use it to control the spinning of our engine fans, and we'll also use it to create an idle for our engine itself. Okay, so first things first, we'll start with the easier task, the spinning fan. Now, I'll go ahead and select the engine, head over to Group, and open up the group so we can get to its subgroups. And in our case, we want to go ahead and choose the pod engine fan. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to the Rotate tool, making sure it's set to gimbal, and it's our Y-axis we need to connect this expression to. Okay, great. So, with that said, let's say we head over now to our motion panel, and go ahead and open up our Sine Controller Rollout. We now need to find our rotation Y track to apply the expression. Alright, so I'll go ahead and go to Rotation and choose the Y rotation track. From there, let's go ahead and assign a controller, and we'll go ahead and choose the float expression controller. Alright, now at first glance this is kind of daunting to look at, but we'll go ahead and get this fan spinning in no time. We'll break this down, and just FYI, we cover this more in depth in our Intro to Rigging course. Alright, so if you're interested in that, recommend checking that out. But at the top, what we see is basically a way to create variables, and variables are great because they save the time it makes to write out expressions. So if it wasn't for variables, we'd have to type out long names to kind of define what is going to be tied to our expression. Alright, but in our case, we can use, let's say, a word as small as test. From there, we can go ahead and create this variable and assign it to a different controller. Alright, so again, just to show you this, after it's been created, we go ahead and select that variable and then choose Assign to Controller. Underneath Objects, we can go to the Pod Racer, go to the second plus sign, because this gives us access to the actual controllers tied to that object. The first plus sign shows us the other objects that are parented to that pod racer. Alright, so we want to get to, again, the second plus sign. Go ahead and expand it. Expand the pod racer, get to position, and I'll just go ahead and choose position X just for the demonstration. So now, this long name here, pod racer, position controller X, all we need to do is type in test, and they mean the same thing. Alright, so that's the benefit of working with variables. Notice we have scalar, which is just magnitude, and vector, magnitude and direction. Alright, so if you want to work with all three axes, X, Y, and Z, alright, and you want them to be tied into just one variable, you want to use vector. Alright, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and delete this, and we're going to go ahead and create a variable called fan speed. Alright, we'll go ahead and choose create. We'll make it scalar. We won't go ahead and add it to our expression just yet. Alright, just want to show you something. So, how are we going to have our fan spin based off of time? Well, if you look right underneath the expression editor, right under description, what we have are variables that basically define our the certain time settings that we can use for our expression. So ticks, that's every frame. That means this engine is going to spin really fast if we use the T. Frames, not so much. It's going to kind of slow down a little bit. Seconds, again, this is based off of our time configuration settings, but the engine's going to go ahead and spin slower. And then we have normalized time, which will spin even slower. Alright, so what we want to go ahead and do is choose seconds. Alright, that's going to work really well for us. I'll go ahead and put in S, and watch this. We debug first to make sure there's no errors. Okay, notice everything's working just fine. If there were any areas or any errors, Max would let us know. But there are none, so we can go ahead and choose close, and now evaluate the expression, or basically run the expression. That's what evaluate does. Now we can go ahead and close this out and hit play, and watch this. There is our spinning engine fan. Great. Now what would be ideal is to have control over the speed of this. In case, let's say, the engine were to fly, these fans are going to spin a lot faster. Okay, but in idle, maybe not so much. Alright, so with that said, let's say we go ahead and create now a variable that we can use, or excuse me, a new custom parameter that we can use to control the speed of this. Alright, I'll go ahead and select our engine control, okay, and head over back to the modify panel. We'll go ahead and add this to the same attribute holder. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and call this fan speed. It's going to be animation parameter editor. Alright, so we'll go ahead and label this fan underscore speed. For the range, I like to use 0 and let's say 10. Alright, so 0 means that there's going to be no spinning at all. And then 10, that's going to be our max speed for the spin. We could also decrease our parameter width. So we can go ahead and do that and choose add. Okay, so the next step is going to be to assign the fan speed parameter to the variable we've made. So I'll go ahead and select the fan again. Okay, and with that selected, we'll head over back to our motion panel and head over to the rotate Y to get to its expression. Now before we get to this, I just want to show you this really quick. Once we apply the expression controller to this track, notice we can no longer rotate in it until the expression is removed. And to remove it, you can simply, with it selected, go ahead and choose Bezier float. That's the default controller tied to this track. Alright, so that's how you remove the expression. Notice if we choose that, now we have control over spinning that. Okay, but I'll go ahead and undo that back to where we had the expression. Alright, great. So now to get back to the expression editor, we simply go ahead and right click and choose properties. Notice if we were to do that on another track that doesn't have any other controller, there are no properties tied to it, so that's going to be grayed out. So I'll go ahead and right click on the Y, choose properties. Okay, so there we have our expression. I'll go ahead and choose fan speed, choose assign controller. What helps is to actually select the object, alright, that is tied, that has the custom parameter tied to it. So right now we have the engine selected, and that's going to make it a little bit easier for us to find the engine in our list. Alright, so if we were to go ahead and collapse the tracks for the pod racer and expand that, notice here is our engine control. You can see how its icon is highlighted. Alright, so we want to go ahead and open up the second plus sign, go to modified object, engine params, custom attributes, and there's the fan speed. Let's go ahead and choose that and choose OK. Alright, so now it's just a matter of going to back to our expression editor and typing in S times fan speed. Okay, we want to type this exactly as how we typed it for our variable. So that's going to be fan speed. We can debug, no errors, great. Let's go and choose evaluate. Now if this works correctly, we should see no spinning at all because by default our attribute is set to 0. Alright, so let's go and hit play. Great, nothing is moving. Alright, and at this time it's I don't know, we should expect something to move, but you know, for nothing to be moving right now, that's a good thing. Okay, so if we were to go ahead and select our controller and now let's say increase the speed to 2, let's see what this is going to do. Now we should get some movement, and there we have it. Wonderful. Alright. Okay, so that is how we can work with variables in our expression editor. We also learned how to create a simple expression to automate the movement of our fan blade. So now it's just a matter of applying it to the left engine. So what I'll go ahead and do is select the engine group for the right side and go ahead and close that. Now we can go to the left side, head over to groups, and we want to go ahead and actually open up that engine group. There we go. Choose the fan blade. Alright, again it's the Y-axis. We head over to our motion tab, go to the rotate Y, assign a float expression. Okay, that's going to be fan underscore speed. Go ahead and choose create, assign controller. What's nice is that Max memorizes the controllers that we defined. So in our case, we can go ahead and move right to fan speed and choose OK. So now it's just a matter of typing in S times fan speed. And there we have it. So now we can go ahead and choose evaluate. We can skip over debug because everything should be working just fine. When you're first typing out your expression, go ahead and just choose debug. Alright. But if you know it's going to work, go ahead and choose evaluate. I'm going to close this out, hit play, and there we have it. Both fans are now spinning. So notice now the animator does not have to spend any time actually animating these fan blades. It's automated, which is great. Okay, so now that that's done, in the next lesson we're going to go ahead and still work with the expressions. I'll go ahead and close out this group. So yes, in the next lesson we'll still work with the expressions, only this time we'll work on our engine idle.